covering her mouth and trying to put her hand under her dress while she was trying to fight back. I didn't think twice about it, and as soon as I saw them I pounced on my brother and started beating him. My girlfriend left the room as quickly as she could and went downstairs to ask for help. When my father and uncles came up I was still beating the poop out of my brother. His face was full of blood, as was my knuckles. My father was the one who had to separate us, but I kept insulting him and hitting him. In the end he was able to separate us and then he took me out of the room while my uncles checked how bad my brother was. Outside the room my father asked me what the hell had happened to make me act like that. It took me a while to be able to formulate words, but finally I told him that I had just seen that my brother had tried to abuse my girlfriend. My dad, I know I was in shock for a while. He sat on the floor and put his hand on his forehead and was completely silent for about 10 minutes until my uncles called him because they were going to take my brother to the hospital. After they took my brother I went to look for my girlfriend and found her talking to my sister about what just had happened. I said goodbye to my sister and we left. All the way to our house she couldn't stop crying. She was confused, angry, and by the time we got home she kept crying until she fell asleep, and that was her routine for a couple of days until little by little she could talk again. In those days my family kept me informed of my conditioned brother. I had broken his nose and dislocated his jaw. My mother was the one in denial, incredulous that her son was capable of something like that, but I didn't think much about it because in the end each person reacts different, and also to a certain point I understood why my mom was trying to explain my brother's actions. The last thing I heard from him was that after he left the hospital everyone turned their backs on him for what he did. They fired him from his work and left town. When I consulted a lawyer friend of mine, she told me that if I pressed charges against my brother he could also drag me with him. I was going to be in jail for some time, and also that my then girlfriend needed to testify and she wasn't in the best moments for something like that. And also my priority in that moment was her. I couldn't help her if I was in jail. The best we had at that time was a restriction order for her. We decided to go to therapy because my girlfriend said that she feels threatened. After several sessions things finally start looking better. We both improve our mental state. 4 years passed and I proposed to her. When I told my family, everyone congratulated me, but my mother remained a little quiet, and when no one was looking, she asked me if we could talk alone later. When we were alone she told me that she was very happy for me and for her, but that she needed to tell me something. That's when she told me that she had been in contact with my brother since the pandemic began. She told me, "I think it's time for you to forgive your brother." Before she could continue talking I left the room, took my keys and went home. When I arrived I told my fiancée what my mother told me, and she was as upset as I was by my mother's words, and I couldn't believe she said that. My mother called me saying that she had told my brother about my engagement and that he was coming to town next week because he wanted to talk to me. I argued with my mom because she had no right to tell him something like that. I hung up on her and have had no contact with her since. After that some relatives have told me that maybe my mother is right and that I should give my brother a second chance. I reached my limit yesterday afternoon when my father called me to tell me that I had to be a good brother and at least try. Even my father asked.
Then his friend asked if I would sleep with him and I said, because he is scared of the dark I'll do it when I arrive home. After this, my son got jealous and was a bit sad for a second, but then his friend asked him, "Why are you sad?" "I have no problem if you join us." We arrive home, I do them a sensual dance after getting ready with my robe, taking a shower, let them take a shower, and then I started dropping and putting my cherries in their face. Then rubbed both hot dogs with ketchup while I sat down and ate them.
Covering her mouth and trying to put her hand under her dress while she was trying to fight back. I didn't think twice about it, and as soon as I saw them I pounced on my brother and started beating him. My girlfriend left the room as quickly as she could and went downstairs to ask for help. When my father and uncles came up I was still beating the poop out of my brother. His face was full of blood, as was my knuckles. My father was the one who had to separate us.